In this video, I'm going to talk about applications, and specifically the operations application. Operations let you do comparisons, math functions, and basic functions that a PLC would do. You want to go to your operations tab. If you don't have an operations tab, go to your TotalFlow main screen, go to applications, add app or add applications, and operations. And note that this is app number 10. All of our operations have the prefix 10. Math operations have 7, compare have 15. If there are several types of operations, I only have math and compare here. There are periodic operations, which happen periodically, bit operations, compare operations, all these operations. In order to change if the operation you need is not visible, you'll have to add it by changing the capacity. Let's do 5 periodic operations. Send that to the TotalFlow. Now when we go back to our operations, we'll see periodic. And if you'll notice that is operation 10, 1, or 0, 1. Oh, sorry, operation 1. So periodics are 1. Right, so on this operation here, what you'll see is there's types, interval, time, and triggered. Interval happens every interval. So I believe this is seconds, minutes, hours. So you can have an interval of as small as a second. Okay, so let's do not a 1 hour. Let's do a 1 second interval. Go ahead and send that. If you wanted to do time, it would do it every time the time equals that. And triggered is triggered upon an event, such as an alarm or another operation outputting. All right, there's various types of operations, and they're your standard logical operations. Turn the monitor off. These functions can be found in the help, and what they mean is explained in help. But most of you should know what they are. This is bit shift left and right, something to the power of something, cosine, all your trig functions, basic math functions. If you're less than equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal, and less than and greater than. Your sums, means, square roots, your statistical things, and copy and moves, and that lets you move registers. And what the R1 and R2 are the registers involved. So you have register 1, register 2, and those can correspond to internal registers or analog inputs, discrete inputs, any kind of hardware register, I/O register. So let's do R1 is equal to R2. Now let's do greater than, that'll be easier. R1 is greater than R2. Alright, so in our R1, let's send. R1, we have R1, R2, and if this is true, the output is given here. So we can make that a discrete out or another register. Our holding registers are here, and they are 9. There's different types, int, floating points, capacities, things of that nature. Let's do a float, or an int would be fine. Let's do 50. So send. And so what we want to do is have our comparison check to see if this will be our set point, if you will. So our 9.1.0 will be our set point. And so on our operations, we want R1 is greater than R2. Let's make R1 our analog input. So let's make R2 be our holding register, which our holding register was 9.1.0. So I'll set this to 9.1.0. I'll send that so it saves. Our R1 we want to be our analog input, which our analog input is 7.100.0. We can do any of these analog inputs, but let's do analog input 1, 7.100.0. So back to operations. So 7.100.0. All right. Now we can send. Okay. Oops. For applications, startup menu. All right, now operations. We want the output to be what our digital output would be. Let's say this is a relay or something of that nature. So we'll go back to our I/O, find our discrete I/O. Let's do 7.120.0, so discrete 1. I will change my output to be 7.120.0 and send. So now anytime R1 is greater than R2, 7.120.0, our digital out 1 will change to true. If I were to make this less than, it would be false when it's greater, etc. Standard Boolean functions. And this will be checked every 1 second. So I'll open my I/O panel here. We can go to our I/O simulation here, and we should be able to see our discretes. And I'll hit monitor, and that should change when I make this below 50%. Notice it's changed. Back to that. And this is read every 1 second. So that's a basic comparison function with the digital output. To recap, we used the register comparison operation in the periodic operations. It compares R1 and R2 and outputs the output of the comparison, the Boolean output, to our out register, which could also be it could be any register you want. And we found the types of registers here. There are various different types. If you need to add a register, you can add and subtract and send your data. So that should take care of that.